Every owner's different, right?
What is typically the approach?
He just landed on a commercial.
No royalties for the first 12
A
months.
lot of people hear natural product.
Jason brings a clear view of the owner profile. Well, if this episode resonates with you, head to the link below and complete the form, and I'd love to connect. One, no royalties for the first 12 months, larger territories than the rest of the field, higher average unit volumes, a broader menu of services beyond mosquito control, and all of this sits inside Authority Brands. So owners get the marketing engine, tech stack, recruiting support, and shared services that most independent operators never reach. Jason Henshaw leads franchise development for Mosquito Squad Plus. He's guided hundreds of candidates through the model and knows what drives success, what ramps slowly, and how the Authority Brand support structure shortens the learning curve. Jason brings a clear view of the owner profile, the operational demands, and the growth story inside this category. So welcome, Jason.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, great to have you back. Multiple brands. So yeah, maybe if you can get a little overview of Mosquito Squad Plus and the services that they offer, and how you guys go about kind of a national footprint in this space.
Yeah. So we are the largest mosquito abatement company, bar none, not just in franchising, in the United States. So we're the biggest. We're also the longest tenured. We invented the model 20 years ago. There are a lot of mosquito brands out there today, but when we came in, there was none. So today, I always like to say that, just not to kind of beat up a metaphor, but we've invented a better mousetrap, right? I think it's a perfect metaphor for this.
Yes.
And so over time, we've adapted and evolved to today. We're full service pest control. We're inside the house, so roaches and termites and all that stuff, and outside the house, of course, mosquitoes, ticks, etc. And then the lawn, things that destroy lawn material. But we just added within the last year rodents as well, so mice and rats. Right. So what? Not right. There's no reason for anybody for any pest control needs to go anywhere but Mosquito Squad.
That's perfect. Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that encompassing.
It is.
I've had to use services for all of the above. So, oh my goodness. And so how many owners are you up to now with Mosquito Squad Plus?
Yeah. So we're well over 100 owners. We're somewhere around, I think we're up to around 260 territories within the U.S.
Wow. So still plenty of room for growth in the U.S.
There is, believe it or not, what happens typically with a brand of our age or our tenure, 30, is that you run out of space. And, some of our major markets are gone along the East Coast, but we've got within the interior, Texas, we've got California, believe it or not, Florida. There's a lot of availability there, which is my home state.
Yeah.
Plenty of opportunity.
Fantastic. And so in terms of all these offerings, so what is typically the approach when you're going in trying to penetrate? Are you just marketing across everything, or how are you guys looking for customers?
Yeah, so we always like to say, and it's in our name, but we like to say mosquito first, right? Mosquito is what gets us in the door. Everybody has a mosquito problem at some point, no matter where they live. I didn't know this when I first came into the brand. I'm from South Florida, so I've had mosquitoes my whole life. There's a swamp that runs up the center of the state called the Everglades, right? It's just a mosquito producing machine. And so we never have had lack of mosquitoes here, but I always thought that, hey, the further north you go, there's probably no mosquitoes. But the fact is that there's different varieties of mosquitoes. And so there's even mosquitoes in Alaska, believe it or not, that do well in those colder climates. So,
wow.
So there's different species that survive better in different climates. And so we basically treat nationwide. And so that's what gets our foot in the door. We get in the door with our name, with our brand recognition through mosquito. But once we get in the door, we're able to let them know, hey, that's why we have plus in the name, or more than just mosquitoes. We can take care of. We notice you have a tick problem, or we notice you have a termite problem. We can handle that for you as well. So we add those additional lines of revenue. Sometimes we get customers for those other services first and mosquito second, but our saying here is mosquito first. That's what gets us in.
Gotcha. In terms of employee that you need for the various, is it the same? Is it the same truck? How do you go about that?
It is basically we're just changing the chemical compound that we're using for that particular pest. So, but the equipment, the technician are all the same, right? So you don't need multiple fields of speciality for this business. It's just one, and we have the training around all those different pest species that need to be eliminated. Make it very easy for our technicians. We have a color-coded handbook that's inside of every truck.
Hmm.
Pair chemical with particular pest that needs to be eliminated.
Wow. So what attracts owners to this model? What makes people that are thinking about franchising?
Yeah, so I always like to say, the riches are in the niches, and things that are not so sexy that people need done, that are, not necessarily somebody that thinks about doing every day. And this is one of those businesses, right? Everybody has pest control needs, or they will at some point in their home. And so it's a business that's going to be around for a long time, won't be replaced by AI or other technologies, right? It requires human action to perform those services. So people like that want a home service business that has legs, it's going to last for a long time. We've been around for 20 years. We've got owners that are on their third agreement, third 10-year agreement at this point, right? So
Wow.
we have really good success rate. That's really what sells people on this brand. 2% failure rate. So, I mean, that's really, really low. When you look at franchising as a whole, the average failure rate in franchising about 14, 15%. So just to give you context, we're at 2, right? So, and the reason for that is really some of the things you talked about at the top of the call. One is no royalties for the first year, right? So that's really attractive, because we know with any business is tough, right? You're paying back debt service, you're trying to grow your business, you're learning the business, you're fighting market competition, right? So year one's crucial. It's that building year. And so the last thing we want to do is put our hand out and ask for royalty when that's happening. So we eliminate that completely, because really the only costs that we control, right? We don't control your fuel or your employees, right? And so we want our franchisees to win. That's just one example of the ways we do it. The other thing you talk about, size of territory. Our territory is 50 to 500,000 people. That's absolutely gigantic.
Whoa.
Equation that more people equals more opportunity equals more revenue. So we want to, again, contribute to that. And then the last thing is all the marketing is handled by us. So we're going to drive traffic towards the business. You don't have to be some kind of marketing guru. We are going to get the phone to ring, and we track that as well. As in our FTD, we have a 50% close rate. So basically every other call we are sending is signing up for service. We do a lot of these things. There's some additional stuff we can talk through as we move through the call today, but basically, we're doing all of these things for one intent: to keep that failure rate low, keep high. So yeah, 98% of the owners that ever signed up with us are still with us today.
Wow. Wow. Everybody loves recurring revenue. So that's one
Nice.
one nice thing. And so talk about the
I love it.
seasonality that I know, although you're evening it out now with the other services, but that has people concerned. How do you walk them through that?
Yeah, so I mean, it was a big concern when we first started, because obviously you're bound by the seasonality of the mosquito, but the addition of these additional lines of revenue is virtually eliminated that. I mean, it does slow down, right? So let's be clear. When mosquitoes
Hmm.
go away, that part of your business goes away. So
Hmm.
you still have these other lines that allow you to continue to function as a business but not shut down, right? So that's what was happening before. And some of our owners love that. Actually, it was actually a benefit for them. It's like in
Yeah.
the more northern climates in the wintertime, they spend time with family, have the holidays off. And they looked at it as a good thing. But other people want to keep their business open year round. So this allows us to do it. So we're, like I mentioned earlier, we're basically sold out from St. Augustine, Florida, all the way up to Maine. Every single territory is gone. And it's just from being in the business as long as we have.
Hmm.
And so even in our main territory, which is pretty far north, most would agree, they're working 12 months year round.
Are they really? Wow, fantastic. So when someone calls in and they're looking for pricing on mosquitoes, how does that work in terms of the call center booking and the follow up, and
Yeah.
who's who's pricing it out? How's that customer acquisition happening?
Yeah, great question. So a call comes in from a potential customer, and our call center is basically meant to be a catch-all if for whatever reason, because the first line of defense, the first person they want to talk to is the owner or admin, somebody whoever's responsible for scheduling appointments will answer the call. And our sales process is not really a sales process. We basically have pre-made packages that the customer would choose depending on their need.
Okay.
If they sign up for that service, then the technician will be scheduled to go out. But the call center that we use is basically, if for whatever reason your admin or the owner can't get to the phone after so many rings, it picks up. And that call center is basically meant to be like a glorified voicemail. They're going to basically collect the information of that customer, their name, phone number, email, And the idea is we're capturing the lead. And that's what it contributes to that 50% close rate. We're not missing calls, right? We're not missing any opportunity. It will be captured. And it even does the same thing a voicemail does. People are willing to wait if a live voice answers the phone and says, hey, we'll get back to you. They're willing to wait for our owner or the admin to get back to them. So that's typically how a call or appointments are scheduled.
Okay, great. And so what is the owner doing typically? Maybe the first 90 days, a year, and then ongoing after that.
So I always like to say your first day is your worst day, right? So when you're a brand new owner, you're just humble beginnings. You're starting to get customers. In the beginning, you're going to kind of get slowly, customers are going to start to develop and come in. And so you're going to have a lot of free time. And you can choose what to do. Every owner is different, right? Just like everybody in general is different.
Mm-hmm.
Is a microcosm of society, right? We got people from
All right.
backgrounds, but also different levels of kind of, for lack of a better word, hustle, right? Some people, if times are slow, they're going to get out there and beat the street, put door hangers out. They're going to, go out and meet with property management groups, golf courses. These are all opportunities you can take advantage of. That I recommend as a new owner, if you've got the time, the bandwidth, and the will, you should be doing that. Otherwise, yeah, it's going to be slow in the beginning. And same thing for your technicians. Your technicians aren't going to be booked, around the clock on day one. So they're going to go do a house. And the recommendation is when they do treat that house, they go through that entire neighborhood and they door hang that entire neighborhood, because we know pests are not selective. If they're in one yard, they're probably in their neighbor's yard. Right? They didn't just choose your house, right?
Right.
So chances are they need your services too. So this gets our foot in the door. We're creating relationships in that neighborhood.
Yeah. No, I imagine that's effective. Like every neighborhood, right? Once
Yeah,
one neighbor starts it,
absolutely.
everybody wants to get it done. Yeah.
And just to kind of, sorry to interrupt, just to double down,
Yep.
you asked about day in the life. Day in the life is going to be, basically booking those calls, scheduling those appointments, dealing with customers, working with our marketing team to help market your business. Because it's not a set and forget it, right? Marketing is not, digital marketing anyway, is not that way. You have to constantly be tweaking it to improve
Okay.
the performance of your marketing. So you'll be working with the team on things like that, payroll, all the back office administration type of things that you would do with any business.
You're right. So in terms of that mix of customers, so I imagine digital marketing can generate a lot of interest in the local area for residential, but how are you going after commercial accounts, and kind of what's the typical mix?
Yeah. So typical mix is definitely majority single family homes, right? You think we do, right? Going to people's houses month on month. And so right now it's somewhere around 75% that, 25% commercial. Obviously,
Okay.
we want to grow the commercial. Some people's blend is even better than that, right? Has a lot of commercial work. And again, depends on the owner. Are they going out there creating those relationships? And that's typically how it's done. It's really not complicated. You're getting out there. You're going to the property management offices. It sounds cheesy, but it works. You're bringing a donuts with your business card. And you're saying, hey, my name's Jason. I'm new to the area. I just started a Mosquito Squad. We do commercial work. I'd love to give you a quote, right, to take care of your properties. And once you get one, a lot of these property management groups know each other. They work with each other. So you'll get a lot of referrals on the commercial side just as well as you would on the residential side. So that's
Oh, wow.
that's typically how it's done. And we teach all of that stuff, strategies, how to develop commercial accounts as part of the training.
How does Mosquito Squad Plus, or how do the owners differentiate themselves, or how do they kind of win in that marketing area?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the main things that we do to differentiate ourselves, we've done this from the very beginning and we've just kind of kept going, is that we are not a lot of fly by night pest control brands out there will just kind of use the nuclear option. So just get the most strong pesticide on the planet they can get and just kill everything.
Right.
We're very selective about the products that we use. The products that we choose to use that are synthetic meet the lowest standard for a hazard by the EPA. And what does that mean? That means like when it's sprayed on plant material, it's going to eliminate whatever pest you're looking to eliminate. And once it dries on that plant material, it is safe to the touch for pets or toddlers or whatever. No one's going to get sick from that. And a great example I like to give is you think about if you have a dog or a cat, there's a product that they use for fleas and ticks where you put it on the back of the neck of that dog or cat. A little squirt of chemical is 100 times stronger than what you're spraying on a person's entire property. So just even kind of, and then we have our proprietary products, which are all natural, so safe for the environment. They're basically essential oils. Again, not going to harm your kid or
Mm-hmm.
pet. I mean, you can't drink this stuff, right? But And it smells nice too, right? It's based on essential oils. And so that's kind of what really separates us. A lot of homeowners that are a little more environmentally conscious
Hmm.
love that strategy. But we don't just do it for that. I mean, we just kind of who we are and how we built this company, and we also back up our proprietary product with 100% satisfaction guarantee. And that's something a lot of other brands won't do because you can't guarantee that pests will be eliminated, but we do.
Right.
We go out on that property. We use these natural products. A lot of people hear natural product and like, that's great. It's good for the environment, but it's going to kill the bugs, right? It's going to do.
Right.
So we put our money where our mouth is and we say that, if it doesn't, we come back for free and we track that. We call it a return rate. So how often are we returning back to someone's property for another time if something didn't work? It's less than 2%, 1.5% of the time it works.
Oh my gosh.
98.5% of the time it works the first time, right? And these are natural essential oil products. Doesn't work on every pest, right?
Yeah.
Just that's where we use those synthetic products. Even then, when we go to that level, we're not using the stuff that kills everything in your yard. We're using stuff that makes sense for that particular pest.
How's the, I guess I imagine there's different, or is there different needs in different parts of the country in terms of both mosquitoes and other pests and even lawn care?
Yeah,
Florida has, I'm sure, all different types of needs than
that's right.
up north. Yeah.
Right. So there is regionality, right? So, the great example I always like to give is in the Southwest, they have scorpions, right? So we've got
Yep.
scorpions, right? So yeah, we're very familiar with the regionality of this business. And you're gonna, our owners get assigned someone called a business coach. And
Okay.
these are not lackeys we hired off the street. These are existing owners that are performing at a very high level because we think who better to give advice to them than those people, right? They know what they're doing. They're their peers. They understand the business at a very high level. And they're also regional. So they're going to understand their regional competition, regional pest species that we just talked about, their pricing, all that stuff matters, right? Pricing in Ohio is like the same as pricing in California, right? There's
Right.
different costs to consider.
No, absolutely. In terms of the power behind Authority Brands and its support, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, we have an arm that's part of Authority Brands called Bimax. And Bimax is basically negotiating on behalf of I think we're somewhere around 2,000 owners across all Authority Brands, using our economy of scale to get the best deal, right, through these vendors. So, there's a lot of needs, right? All of our companies that we have under our umbrella need trucks or vans, right? So we're negotiating for those things. All of them need
Okay.
insurance. We're negotiating for those things. One thing that a lot of people don't think about, which is really crucial for your clients, is that we have health insurance. So we've negotiated that as well. So a lot of people, when they leave a job, one of the things they're fearful of is I'm going to lose my benefit.
Fair. Right.
Well, they can come into an Authority Brands brand, particularly Mosquito Squad, and be able to get insurance is very comparable to what their payment for that insurance monthly is very comparable to what they were used to. In some cases, better than what they're used to because again, we're using our size to negotiate the best pricing.
Right. That is huge. That is huge. It didn't seem like it was always that way when I initially got into franchising. So it's good to see that.
Right.
It really helps a lot of when someone scales, I mean, what's the trajectory like with that? I mean, is there a targeted goal for these large markets and how many trucks you want? And
Yeah. So, I mean, I always like to say that, you're scaling according to demand. So I have a rhyme for it, right? As long as there's demand, you're adding a truck or van, right? So you're
yeah,
basically how this model works. There's not a lot of overhead. If you think about it, this business is basically a guy, a truck, and some chemicals. That's pretty much the business, right? Very high
yeah,
level, right? But basically, that's what you're dealing with.
yeah,
And so you're going to start humble beginnings, as we talked about earlier on the call, with one truck and one employee. That's all you need to get started. And you scale according to demand. So you build that truck and employee to capacity. They can't do any more jobs in a day. And then you rinse and repeat. You add another truck or van and employee, and you just do that over and over, kind of rubber stamping throughout your territory. So what we see in our item 19 data is the average territory does about $500,000 in gross revenue. And give you give you context for that. Our average franchisee performs better than the top quartile, the next best franchise in the mosquito space, right? And that's because the size of our territory, right? They're performing at $500,000. So most of our owners have at least 2 territories. Average owners, quick math, is doing about $1 million in gross revenue. And they're bringing down somewhere around 25% EBITDA, right? So 250
fantastic.
is what they're bringing home. And so, average truck, and I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you, but I think it's important. The average truck does about 150,000 gross. So, easy math, average territory is about 3 trucks.
Okay. What's the biggest hiccup that you see, owners, new owners doing? If let's say they are following the system at first, where do you see maybe the wheels fall off? Or yeah.
So, I mean, I think it matters. Marketing is super, super crucial. Just in franchising alone, there are a lot of people that do similar services to us, and that's what you've been bringing up, right? What are the differentiators? What are the things that makes Mosquito Squad different? And so you've got to beat that competition through marketing. You've got to get the word out. You've got to let the people know. You've got to be in that handheld device where people can find you. And the only way you can do that is by spending, right? For SEO, pay per click, Google Ads, social media marketing, all that stuff matters, and that's where you got to be. And so a lot of people don't get that when they come into a new business, that the marketing expense for operating a business can be quite high.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we make it very clear. It's in our FTD exactly what the expense is, but you don't want to get caught. You don't want to get left behind, right? You don't want to fall short of the requirements that are needed for this business to succeed. So that would be one thing that I hear frequently. The other thing is scaling that we just talked about, making sure that
Hmm.
get to a place where you've got customers calling you, but you haven't added that truck fan in time to meet that demand, right? So paying attention, and our business coaches do a really good job of making sure that you're not basically just in time, right? JIT, that you're adding that van or truck in time for the need that they project in the future, and not any sooner either, right? We don't want a truck sitting there collecting dust
Right.
when you don't need to do it. So that's a very crucial part of the support we provide.
Do you do you eventually need, I guess, some type of warehousing support to keep the trucks? Or
Yeah. So again, day one, if you've got the ability, it's just a pickup truck. You can park it in your driveway, right? It works
hmm
well. And a lot of owners do that in the beginning. Sometimes you use storage facilities. That's another option, right? If you have an HOA issue where you can't park a commercial vehicle in your driveway, get a storage unit. They have parking for like large RVs and boats. You park your stuff there. It's safe, secure to get in, cameras, all that jazz. You get a small, this is not big equipment. So you can either fit it in your garage or a shed or in a 10 by 10 storage unit. It fits totally fine. So it keeps your cost down. But over time, you get to 5, 6 vans or trucks, you're not gonna be able to
yeah,
sell it anymore, right? You're gonna need a mixed use space where it's half office, half storage. And those are everywhere in commercial
yeah.
districts. You can find them very easily.
Any story that sticks out that talks about or shows displays strong execution in
Yeah.
your
So our
network?
owner in Tampa, his name's Victor. He just started last year with one territory. He's already grown to 3 in the course of 1 year. And just because he's a go getter, like I said, franchising is a microcosm of society, right? You got people that are average, you got people that
Hmm.
are overachievers, you got people that are underachievers. And so this guy's a great example of an overachiever. He gets out there and hustles. He's already created commercial accounts with property
Right.
management groups in the area. That's what it's all about
Yeah.
to scale. He just landed a commercial account, just last week.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I mean, that's a great example of what you can do with this business if you get out there. Territory's available, so he's buying it up. He doesn't want to leave it for chance that somebody else is going to buy it.
Right. Right. Fantastic. Any traits that you think are important, or when you guys are looking for ideal candidates,
Yeah,
things that stand out?
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can teach, right? So none of our owners came from pest control, so we're going to be able to teach you all that. So don't fear like I'm not going to be able to run a pest control business. You're not going to be out there spraying chemicals, right? We hire technicians to do that. So that's another misnomer. They think that they got to go out there and put on a backpack blower and spray people's yard, learn how to mix chemical and drive the truck, and none of that stuff is going to happen. You can if you want, right? But it's not a requirement. So that's one thing. Just have a realistic expectation of what it's required to operate this business. But also, you could take it to the next level, like our friend Victor in Tampa has done, and go out there and kind of generate business for your location. A lot of the marketing, again, 90% of it is us. We're gonna do the digital side, handle all that kind of high level marketing, but you got to create those local relationships.
Hmm.
So I'd say that's one thing. Be involved in your business. Get out there and hustle. The other thing is you talked about earlier. Follow the process. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. We're not looking for people to do that. And you may have the desire to do that. And I get that. I'm the same way. I want to find ways that I can improve my business, but there's other ways we can do it rather than trying to reinvent pest control, right? We've been doing it longer than anybody else. We've replicated this hundreds of times across the nation. Pretty good at it, I think.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is, pay attention to your data, pay attention to the numbers for your business, your KPIs, et cetera. And we have really good reporting software. I always like to say that we're a digital software company that happens to do pest control. So, we have a lot of software. We have a great IT team that helps with all that stuff. We will teach you how to monitor those numbers and use it, right? That's what you're paying for, right? As part of your royalties. Use that information to make educated decisions about your business.
No, yeah, I would say Authority Brands there's no shortage of things you're measuring and able to collect and yeah, use valuable information. So we talked about the big misconception about, getting on the truck and going out and spraying. Any other misconceptions that people may have about
I mean,
this model?
I mean, it's easy to misconstrue. It says mosquito in our name that we just do mosquitoes. I mean, again, I think we talked about that in detail. That's a thing that people don't really think about with us. Rodents is fairly new to us, so a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
That was new to
Yeah.
well. I'm trying to think of what else kind of common misconceptions. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't know that we have proprietary products we've invented. I mean, the guy that invented this product for us that we brought into our system, his name is Dr. Kurt Van Dock. He worked for Bayer for most of his career, and Bayer is
Wow.
manufacturer of pesticides. So he had patents with them before he came to our business and created patents for us.
Okay, that's very interesting. Anything else you want to share about the model with people?
No, I mean, that's like I said, everything else we can teach. The business performs really well. The item 19 and all the data backs that up.
Yes.
And, I just think it's a great brand. And, like I said, we've got some sold out territory on the East Coast, but we've got a lot of territory open throughout the nation. And if it's not a sexy business, but it's a business that people want and need. We have a very high recurring customer track record.
Right.
We track that. It's in our FTD. It's about 75%. So 75% of customers year on year are signing up with us for the next year. And that number is actually higher because there's data. We track this too, but we can't show it in the FTD. But basically, there are life events that happen when people can't, not because of the quality of service or anything like that. It's because they moved, or unfortunately, divorce happens, or people get sick and pass away. So we lose those customers. We've done the data on that. It's more like 85%.
That's amazing.
Goes out. Yep.
That is really strong.
Yeah.
So big territory, really nice margins, simplicity of model, all the support, and then 85% recurring revenue. But back to your point, you want to keep on marketing, and then there's huge growth opportunities in terms of added revenue channels, et cetera.
Correct.
And commercial. Yeah. Wow. That's great. Well, if this episode resonates with you, head to the link below and complete the form, and I'd love to connect. And thanks again, Jason, for your time. This was really great, really informative, and another strong model in the Authority Brands Network.
I love it. Thank you so much, Laura.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.